So it's a quiet day, pretty nice. So I just wanted to share with you some more insight that I have, and maybe some good news for anybody that's watching my story, curious, and you need some motivation. So I've been dealing with police corruption for the last about 2 years. Um, and my wife, she finally got some. We finally starting to get some people reaching out to us, people talking to us. I can't say like who they are, but it's a step in the right direction because if you recall, I had previously reached out to people like Jeffrey Smythe, uh, who didn't help me, and again, he's Facebook friends with Ron Parrish, Senator Amy Galey, who's Facebook friends with a lot of these people, like Dennis Rydell. I'm not Dennis Rydell, but the DA and some other people that kind of had a hand in the cover up and the corruption. Dennis Rydell, he's also Facebook friends with Ron Paris that I reached out to. But so it's nice to get for people to reach out to us. So we're just moving along, and so with Donald Trump and everything going on with the Doge and the fraud and wasteful spending, I think I think people are going to be on their toes as they should be. I think people are starting to wake up, and so yeah, we've just been pushing and pushing and pushing. And I just want to say for anybody watching my videos who may watch them in the future, like I said, if you're going through something and and you've been ignored, you're going through something, you've reached out, and you feel like a victim, just know, I mean, it takes time. You can't give up. No matter what, you have to stay focused. And yeah, it is a little bit scary. It's scary because you don't know what to expect. It's scary because you're in a new area that you're not used to. But I can tell you what, it's better than the alternative of living and living in what happened. It's better than the alternative. So starting to get answers, we're starting to get people to actually take note. I've been uh I've been posting on Nextdoor. I've been posting on X. I've been posting on YouTube. My wife's been posting on Nextdoor and all the others. My wife's been reaching out to the FBI and all these other people, and it's just stuff takes time. Like there's a saying that justice is slow, and so I'm aiming to get something done. And again, I'm reaching out to people. One person was telling me about her son got charged with a bunch of stuff. I can't go into detail because this is a private conversation, but she's telling me about how her son got charged with something he didn't do, and she was telling me about an obvious violation. I can tell you this. So the police followed him home and then went in his house, and then uh, charged him with some more stuff because they accused him of taking something. So I just want you to know, police have to have a warrant unless that there's something called the plain view doctrine. Unless they can clearly see something from their vantage point, then they cannot use any of that evidence. It's considered a so if an arrest results because of that illegal thing, like let's just say the police come into your house, you're not suspected of a crime, but they just come in there. Let's just say hypothetically, like the neighbors call on you, right? The neighbors call on you because you're somewhat loud, but when they get there, you're not loud, and they want to talk to you, but you're like no, and then they barge into your house, and maybe they see like uh weed or something like that, or something you shouldn't have. They can't charge they so if they don't have a warrant, they don't have a warrant, or that stuff cannot be seen from the outside, then and you get arrested for it. This is called um, fruit of the poisonous tree doctrine. I think that's what it's called. I haven't taken law in years, but that's what that's called. And so basically, any of the evidence that they've seized in an unlawful encounter, which that would be because they didn't have a warrant, then has to be thrown out. Even if they found like a dead body or drugs or cocaine or something, they still cannot use it. That's just the way it works. So I would suggest you guys get good with your rights. So, and I'll just tell you this. I'm gonna try to let this video run for about 2 minutes. But so we have civil rights. So just because police are called to your house doesn't mean that you have to comply with anything they say. So this means if they're doing a caretaking function, like maybe they're knocking on your door because somebody called and is worried, they cannot then come in legally or force you to speak with them. That's illegal, and a lot of courts will overlook this stuff, especially in Alamance County. But that's the constitutional rights that we have to fight for. And so you see a lot of arrests that take place because of something of that nature, something that isn't criminal in nature that becomes criminal. But I see a lot of this stuff with the videos that I watch, how police can be called out to something, and a lot of people think that just because the police come to your house, you have to do what they say. That isn't true. That's not how it works. Now I'll give you an example of where you might have to do what the police say. So let's just say somebody calls the police on you, and you're arguing with your wife or significant other or whatever, and it's alleged that you physically hit that person. Now, because that is a crime, hitting your spouse or significant other, or basically putting your hands on somebody when it's not wanted, constitutes assault. Now, you do have to speak to an officer in that regard because he's his duty. Every police officer is essentially a detective. Like they don't have the title, but that's what they're doing. They're trying to figure out if a crime has been committed. And so, yeah, if somebody's saying that, like, they suspect you of this, then you do have to talk to the officer. Then you're not free to leave. This is what's called a detention. You don't have they don't have probable cause for an arrest right now. All they're doing is responding to an inquiry. And so there's reasonable suspicion and there's probable cause. Reasonable suspicion is the first step. That's where the detention occurs. So again, the police officer is called out to your house because somebody said that you're arguing and that they said you hit your wife, husband, whatever. That gives them reasonable suspicion. That doesn't give them probable cause yet, and it's only because they have to get there because anybody can say anything about anybody, but nobody really knows the facts until it's investigated. And so that's what the police will do. They'll investigate. And so you're detained. And so, like, for example, if the wife or whatever says, yeah, he or she hit me, then that becomes probable cause. But if they're like, no, even if they're lying, because the police only have to go by what you and the other person says. So you could be in a situation where you smacked the shit out of your wife or whatever, and there's no bruises or no nothing. They if your wife or whatever says that you didn't do it, then reasonable probable cause is not met for an arrest. Now, unless there's like a big ass bruise mark or there's some signs, then probable cause is met. But generally, it used to be where police had the discretion to arrest or separate or whatever, but I'm not really sure how that goes in today's society in the way the law is because I haven't studied law in years since like 2016. But that's that. But generally, like there's updates and stuff. But the law in general, unless there's updates, that's the law. And so there's a lot of stuff. So police only have power when you've committed a crime or you're suspected of committing a crime. But then in the way they handle these things, there that also, like, for example, um let's just say you're with your kid, right? You're with your kid, and like you just somebody called the police on you because they said that you were being neglectful to your kids or something like that, right? Say the police get there, and so they just want to talk to you. So the neglect part is if it just depends. So it's still good to like speak with them. I think they still have technically reasonable suspicion depending on what's being alleged. Now, if they are to conclude that like you did, you know, neglect your kids or whatever, they could issue you a citation, or they could take you to jail. It just depends. But there are these things called dang, I can't think of it. The Connor, I forget the specific, but it has to do with it's a Connor. I forget the statute is, but basically, it this is a doctrine that talks about how police and what'll happen is after this, I remember it. Police, there's a level of urgency and a level of force needed. So basically, police cannot just pull a gun on you just because they were called out for arguing with nothing else present. They can't do that. That's illegal because you have to use the force with force. And so police can only use that type of force, when you become a threat. And so a lot of people don't know this, especially around Gibsonville. And I'm sure that some people watching or that will watch and are going to be living here. So I'm just trying to be careful about how I say things. But a lot of people, they think you have to just do what the police say. No, that is not the case. It depends on what they're called out for. Now, you get a lot of people that are petty that'll call for whatever. So, another thing, dang, Remy, get down. My dog, he stinks. He's farting and stuff. But there's this thing called hot pursuit. So, let's just say you robbed a bank, right? I'm just giving something that's really easy. Let's say you robbed a bank and you run and you like run home uh to your house, right? The police don't need a warrant to go into your house because they're on a hot pursuit. I know less about I think if they're on like if you're a felon, I mean if you're committing a crime and the crime started somewhere else and they follow you to your home, you go in that home, you can't be saved by your home. You can't be saved just because you're at home because they've already started following you committing a crime. So in that case, they could enter your house lawfully. Like I think that and the caretaking function is the only exception to when they can go into your house. The caretaking function being like, let's just say, uh, you have a daughter, right? You're an old lady, and the police, they have reason to believe that like you might need help. The police could go into your house doing that, but I don't know if they could physically charge you if they saw something. But they can enter your house. They would not need a warrant for that because they're doing an essential function. So it's only two that I know of, at least. Excuse me, hot pursuit and the caretaking function. So I wanted to leave y'all with that because I know I talk a lot about my stuff, but I want to leave my viewers with some knowledge. And don't take my word for it. I'm just a random dude on YouTube. Go look it up. But anyways, I wanted to bid you all a good night.